Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm going to be doing a video of my predictions for the NFL season. Obviously, I'll be picking the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, a whole playoffs breakdown, and of course my Super Bowl victory. So stay tuned for the rest of that, and let's jump into it. So let's jump into MVP here. So I have Aaron Rodgers winning it, of course. The team without Rodgers last year went 3-7. They were really not that competitive. With Hundley at quarterback. They were 4-1 going into the game where Rodgers got hurt, so the Packers were in really good position to, make a playoff run. Rodgers gets hurt, the whole team falls apart as expected. Jordy Nelson left, of course, but Jimmy Graham comes in. So, I think they definitely gain an advantage in the red zone. Jimmy Graham is really good in the red zone. That's really his specialty now. Their offensive line, even with Hundley, was ranked 13th in the league last year, so not terrible. Rodgers has something to prove. I believe he's going to win his third MVP this year. And I think, with him missing those games last year, people are finally going to see how valuable he is. Some people might have thought that the Packers were kind of like a system team, but, it's really not that great of a roster. And then once you take off a guy like Rodgers, it really just fell apart. So, I think him coming back this year, I think they're going to make the playoffs. And people are going to finally see how valuable Rodgers is to that team. My pick for Defensive Player of the Year will be Joey Bosa, of course. Last season, in his second year, had 12.5 sacks for the Chargers. He lost weight coming into this year. He plays at Melvin Ingram. They have great corners on that team. Jason Verrett is going to try and come back from his injury. I hope he gets to play all season. Casey Hayward's still there. The Chargers are going to be a really good team this year, and you'll see based off my my Super Bowl prediction and all that stuff that I do have them going pretty far. But really, I think it just works really well for Bosa. His sacks have gone up in the both years, and they should be a team playing ahead. So if the quarterbacks against him have to drop back a lot, I think Bosa's going to have a lot of chances to get sacks. He plays with a lot of good players on that defense, and I think all the opportunity is there for him. And Bosa himself is a really special player. He's scary, and he's only getting better. He's still really young. Going to his third year, I think he's in a perfect opportunity to, be a dominant defensive player and hopefully bring home that award. My Offensive Player of the Year pick will be Cam Newton. He won the award in 2015, of course, when he won the MVP. And I think Newton's in a really good spot again this year. He gets a lot of new weapons and gets some people back. We'll go through it here. So they added DJ Moore in the first round. That's really going to help. He gets Greg Olsen back, the tight end, who missed a lot of last year. I think he fractured his foot or something like that. They added Torrey Smith, so he gets his deep threat. He lost Ted Ginn a couple years ago, and when Cam Newton had his big season, Ted Ginn was a really good player and a really important player for them, so maybe Torrey Smith can bring some of that. I think Devin Funchess is a better player than Kelvin Benjamin. Benjamin really did not look good at all last year. And, of course, Christian McCaffrey, he's going to be in his second year. He should be improved, and, they find ways to use him. Norv Turner is going to be their offensive coordinator now. And they also have C.J. Anderson, who's definitely better than Jonathan Stewart, and I am a Giant fan saying that, so he's definitely better than Jonathan Stewart, so that's definitely going to help the run game as well. Their defense should still be good, and I think Cam Newton is just in a terrific spot. He's 29 years old. I feel like there's reports coming out that he's like on the hot seat in Carolina, so I think Cam Newton's going to have something to prove. And when that happens, I think Cam Newton's going to really come out and have a fantastic season. He definitely has all the weapons around him. They did lose Andrew Norwell to free agency, but I really think their offensive line is going to be fine, and Cam Newton is definitely a mobile quarterback and can get away from some of that. So I think if Newton's healthy this year, he's going to be in a great situation to win Offensive Player of the Year. And I don't think he could replicate his 2015 season, but if he could put something near that, he could definitely win the award. And if the Panthers make the playoffs, then I think he has a great shot at winning it. And lastly, I'm sure this is an obvious pick for most people, but of course I have Saquon Barkley winning Rookie of the Year. It's an award that could be won by a quarterback usually, but I really don't see many of the rookie quarterbacks being good this year. Baker Mayfield, I feel like, is not going to be able to play that much because of Tyrod Taylor. Maybe Josh Rosen gets to play a lot. I'm not sure. The Cardinals' offensive line is horrific, so I really don't think he'll have great success there, unfortunately. Josh Allen might get to play, but I never really thought he was that great. Trying to think who else was drafted this year. I don't know, but Sam Darnold, of course, for the Jets. I think McCown's going to start this year. I'm not positive, but I'm not sure. I mean, Darnold's like really young, so I think Barkley's in a perfect situation here. He's going to be like the motor of this Giants offense. I mean, people may think it's Odell or Ingram or even Eli, but I mean, I think when it comes down to how good the Giants are going to be this year, it's going to be Saquon Barkley. I mean, I think he's going to be in a situation where he'll get at least 300 touches. That's how it should be, at least. And if Barkley plays a full season and puts on a display that he did last year in college, he should be fine. You know, in my last video, I projected Saquon to have like 1,200 yards on the ground and, you know, somewhere around 500 receiving yards. So I think he's going to get the ball thrown to him a lot. He'll have a lot of volume, and, you know, he gets to prove how good of a player he really is. So I think as long as Barkley gets the opportunity, he stays healthy, and as long as the offensive line for the Giants is good enough, which it should be because it's improved, I think Barkley's in a really terrific spot here to win Rookie of the Year. So here's my playoff predictions here. I'm going to start from left to right. So let's start with the AFC East. Of course, the Patriots I have to pick. I mean, I really don't see how the Bills, Dolphins, or Jets are going to, you know, overtake the Patriots this year. I don't think their rosters are that skilled. And, of course, Tom Brady. I mean, that's really all you need. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. AFC North, I have the Steelers. Then again, I don't know who's going to give them a run either. I mean, I don't think Joe Flacco's going to go for Baltimore. The Bengals really struggled last year. Andy Dalton looks like he's going to fall off a cliff. And the Browns are improved. I think they'll be like a 6 or 7 win team. For the AFC South, I have the Texans. That's an interesting one. Of course, I picked them over the Jaguars. I believe with Deshaun Watson having a, you know, hopefully full season, they still have a pretty good defense. Their offensive line is not that good, but I think Deshaun Watson's mobility, you know, DeAndre Hopkins being an amazing player, I think they're going to get a lot done there, and I think they'll be better. I think the Jaguars are still going to make the playoffs. I'll get to that in a little bit. The AFC West, I do have the Chargers having a fantastic season. Denver's going to be improved. The Chiefs, I think, will be improved. The Raiders, I even think, will be improved. So, I mean, it's going to be a tough division, but I'm going to give the Chargers the edge. I really like their team. And then the wild card, I got the Chiefs. They brought in Sammy Watkins this year. Patrick Mahomes is going to be starting there, so it'll be interesting, but I think they're going to get a playoff spot. And then I have the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars are going to take a step back. You know, Blake Bortles is not an elite quarterback by any stretch, and it's hard to, you know, duplicate a season like that on defense, and I think people are going to start to figure out how to beat the Jaguars, so they might struggle in the beginning, but they'll figure it out, so I think they're going to make the playoffs. And then the championship game, I have the Chargers against the Patriots. I believe this was the matchup in like 2006. I mean, I was like 10 years old at the time, so I don't really remember too well. That might have been the game where Phillip Rivers was playing on a torn ACL. I'm not really positive on that one, but it might be. But then again, I do have the Patriots winning that game as well. I mean, it's really hard to pick against the Patriots. I mean, they've been to so many Super Bowls in a row now. I'd be a fool to sit here and say they're not going to make it again. You know, I think Rob Gronkowski's health is really dependent on how good they'll be this year. Julian Edelman's going to be healthy, you would think, coming back from suspension. They'll have fresh legs. You know, Chris Hogan needs to stay healthy. I mean, defensively, the Patriots should be good enough. I mean, I don't know how good they'll be, but they should be good enough, and their offense will get it done. So I do have them winning that game. I think it'll be a close one, though, definitely. Now, for the NFC, so NFC East, sad to say, I think the Eagles are going to win it again. They definitely have the most skilled roster here. You know, the Cowboys, I mean, I just don't think Dak is good enough. Alex Smith should improve the Redskins, but not enough. And the Giants also, I think, will be improved, but not enough to overtake the Eagles. So I have them repeating, you know, a division berth there. The NFC North, I have the Packers. Of course, I picked Aaron Rodgers as my MVP. I have them over the Vikings, which is interesting. And, you know, I do think Kirk Cousins is a little overrated, so I'm going to go with the Packers. The NFC South, I have the Saints. I mean, I think they're the most well-rounded team, maybe the most well-rounded team in the whole conference, so I have to pick them. And then the NFC West, I have the Rams. I mean, I really don't think that's that close. I mean, the Cardinals are not going to be that good. The Niners are up and coming, but they're not on that skill level that the Rams are. The Seahawks, I think, are going to take a really big step back, unfortunately. I'm a huge Russell Wilson guy, but even he's not enough to overcome the deficiencies of that team. And then you have the Rams improving on defense. They brought in a lot of guys this year, a couple cornerbacks, Ndamukong Suh. You know, they brought in Brandon Cooks, of course, to replace Sammy Watkins. So they'll be in the mix, and as long as Jared Goff, you know, doesn't, you know, as long as last year wasn't a fluke for Jared Goff, they'll be absolutely fine. And then you look at the playoffs here. So the championship game, I mean, so we have the Saints versus the Packers. An interesting one. I do think the Saints will win that game. The Packers, I think just don't have enough firepower. Aaron Rodgers would have to play out of his mind to beat the Saints, and I mean, the Saints are just so well-rounded as a team. So I do have the Saints winning that game, and of course we have a Patriots and Saints Super Bowl. And as you can see, I believe the Saints will win that game 31-24. I think it'll be a really good one. It's so hard to predict here in July who's going to be in the Super Bowl, but these are both teams, great franchises with, two of the best quarterbacks of, this generation, two first ballot Hall of Famers who are still, I think, playing at a terrific level, very high level. They both have really good teams. This might be Drew Brees' best team. I mean, they had a great rookie class last year, which will be in its second year now. So the Patriots, they just seem to make it every year. So I'm going to give the edge to the Saints, though. I think they just have a better overall team, and I picked them to win 31-24. And the last thing here, I'm going to pick my 3 worst teams for 2018. So first, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, Jameis Winston will be suspended the first 3 games. Their defense last year was just horrendous. They had, you can pretty much pass all over them whenever you wanted to. They picked up Vita Vea, I believe, in the draft this year. He's a defensive tackle. They will have to start the year with the Saints, Eagles, and Steelers when Jameis Winston is out, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is last playing with the Jets. He did play for the Bucs a little bit last year, but last fully played for the Jets wasn't that good, so he'll have to play against 3 really elite teams. And it seems like right now the Bucs are a lock to go 0-3, so they'll have to climb out of a hole right away, and I don't know if they have the personnel to do that. Onto the Bills now. They have no weapons on offense. I mean, LaShawn McCoy might even be suspended this year. Who knows? Josh Allen or A.J. McCarron or even Nathan Peterman will play quarterback for them. Not confident in any of those guys. Their defense isn't that bad, but I mean, I think their offense is just so bad that it'll overshadow the whole team, and I just don't see how they'll put up points there, especially in Buffalo. And then last we have the Cardinals. I mean, their only weapons are Larry Fitzgerald, who will be 35, and David Johnson, who missed pretty much all of last year with a wrist injury. Sam Bradford is a quarterback, very injury prone. Josh Rosen is a rookie quarterback. They lost Tyrann Mathieu to the Texans, I believe, and they have a first-year head coach. So I mean, the Cardinals are also in a pretty tough division. It's going to be a really rough year for these teams, I believe. I mean, I don't know how they're going to climb out of it. I'm not really optimistic about any of them. I mean, if I had to pick any of these teams to make some noise this year, I mean, I'd probably go with the Cardinals, and that's because I'm a big Josh Rosen guy, and they do have a bad offensive line there, but I do love Rosen, so I hope he does well. But these teams are definitely not looking good to start off the year. So that will do it. If you want, just leave your predictions in the comments, and we can discuss that. But that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for watching, guys.